which means that more people get into poverty every day than the previous day. Our inflation is very high, so is unemployment. Government revenue is very low, and public debt is rising, as well as the cost of servicing the debt. Investment in our country is declining. In the whole of Q2 of 2024, we only attracted about $29 million in foreign direct investments.
Senator Wadada, Senator Patsui, Senator Sani Musa, take your seats.
We have seen a number of companies exit the country. We have seen those that have closed down, and some that have scaled down their operations from having about 5 plants to about 2, including some local companies. On the next slide, we have significant areas of work in progress in reforming our economy and taking Nigeria to a place where we all aspire for the country to be. We also have areas where we are beginning to see positive results. For the areas where we need to make improvements, these include our exchange rates, the strength of the Naira, and the stability of the Naira. We need to rein in on inflation as well as cost of doing business. We need to address rising poverty in the land and the cause of doing business, as well as finding decent jobs for our people, particularly our young population. Our interest rate environment is very high, almost impossible to do any legitimate business, borrowing at 40–50%. We also have challenges around efficient public financial management, coordination of government policies across different levels, as well as public communication. But the areas where we're beginning to see positive results include the balance of trade and current account surplus. We are beginning to see inflation slowing down in developed markets, which means as they cut their rates, more investment will come in our direction. We're seeing a decline in budget deficits. We're seeing rising revenue, though remains small. And we're seeing crude oil local refining in Nigeria, which is good news. And we have our capital markets not doing badly, could be better. And these are some of the context about what led to the reforms. So, Mr. President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria set up the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee last year, August. And the team is comprised of over 80 Nigerians from all the 6 geopolitical zones across Nigeria, including over 45 young people from 22 universities, head of internal revenue services, including more than 22 government institutions, including the organized private sector from Manufacturers Association of Nigeria to Small Business Association to Chambers of Commerce, as well as professional bodies, ICANN, ANAN, CITN, Nigerian Bar Association, and so on and so forth. We've done a lot of public consultation in developing the proposals before the National Assembly. These consultations include the private sector, it includes trade associations, it includes the civil society, as well as government. Like I said, we are grateful for the opportunity to have the 2-day retreat we started last year. We had 1 meeting with the Governors Forum, we had 2 with the National Economic Council. We've had meetings with some of the state governors, individually with their cabinets. We've had meetings with investors community, local and foreign. We had meetings with Nigerians with disability. We had meetings with Nigerians in the diaspora. More than 40 sectors were engaged as part of these proposals.
All right, we're going to quickly go off on our break. That's information necessary for your consumption. When we return, you have to stick around because you have to hear him. That's Taiwo Oyedele explain the reform bill before the Senate. It should give you a skeletal, a very sketchy understanding of the reform bill, and hopefully you see how this applies to you in a very direct sense. We're 99.3. This is Nigeria Info. My name is Joyce, and by way of information,
have you heard about the great news? Genesis Cinemas Lekki opens this December ahead of a spate of blockbuster releases. Get ready for a very, very dirty December with great Hollywood hits. I'm talking Gladiator. Yes, the sequel is out. Moana 2 is out. Wicked is out. Kraven the Hunter. Mufasa the Lion King. The highly anticipated Nollywood hits such as The Waiter, AY's new blockbuster, Everybody Loves Jennifer, and lots more. The new Genesis Cinemas Lekki features state-of-the-art audiovisuals, stunning screens, luxury fittings, and a wide variety of food and drink options. Genesis Cinemas Lekki is located at the new Purple Lekki Mall along Freedom Way, Lekki Phase 1. Genesis Cinemas, more than just movies.
all right. And so on one play, you can play to win. Remember the short code *347 *88. What
347 *880 *3 hash.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
880 *3 hash. Okay, and before the sun sets today,
there's gonna be a winner.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so pick up your phone and dial that number *347 *880 *3 hash. Jess has left me.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
Of course, she's going to be drawing winners, but she's not the only one going to be drawing winners. Winners have already emerged in the show before this one. There will be winners in the evening, so you want to be one of those who walks away with that share of winnings. Now, 500 naira is all it's going to cost you per game, and of course, per game as in per ticket. And once you play for 500 naira, you can be one of the winners, but you can play as many times as possible because it's a numbers game. The more you play, the more your chances of winning. Make sure you're above the age of 18, however, and make sure that you are playing responsibly. You play today, you are also qualifying for a weekend jackpot at the end of the week, so make sure you keep this in mind while playing.
You are listening to your number one station for talk,
99.3 Nigeria Info.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Grab your sunglasses, beachwear, sunscreen, and head over to Ziba Beach Resort, where there is a spot with your name on it just for you and your loved ones. To book your holiday spot, visit zibabeachresort.com or call 0704 730 0013. Ziba Beach Resort, Lagos. A beachside Christmas awaits you.
The quarterfinals of Nigeria Info's I Beg to Differ Season 8 are here. The stakes are higher, the arguments sharper, and the excitement through the roof. At 4 p.m. on Monday, Olajilo Akinloluwa takes on Amuzie David Emmanuel in a thrilling face-off. Is technology making us lazier? At 5 p.m., Simisola Akimbola goes head-to-head with Ochecha Abigail Ioma in a fiery debate. Should public transportation be free? Expect compelling arguments and moments that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Who will advance to the semifinals? Well, I am Yvonne Okhaifo. Join Femi Owen-Daniels and me as we find out on Monday. I Beg to Differ Season 8. 32 debaters, now 8. One winner, 1 million naira. Sponsored by Tollywood College. Supported by Obiwisi, Lucas Green Fashion, Beloxi, Card Center Nigeria Limited, and Cordros Group. Season 8 continues in March and culminates in the National Championship in 2025. Send an email to info@nigeriainfo.fm for inquiries on how to partner with us. That is info@nigeriainfo.fm. I Beg to Differ. A tournament of champions.
You are listening to your number one station for talk.
Your number one station for talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
What's that station again? No.
Here's one thing you need to know about yourself. So now here we talk.
Yep, bullseye. That's the one.
You're listening to 99.3 Nigeria Info's The Sunny Side. The Sunny Side. Welcome. My name's Joyce.
And I want to thank you so much both for your time with us and your commitment to dialogue. You're listening to 99.3 Nigeria Info. You're on the sunny side. It's a beautiful Monday afternoon. We're radioactive, and unfortunately our guest, well, he was here, but the internet wasn't. And that has forced a rescheduling. He promises to be here Wednesday, 12:30, to discuss the tax reform, to bring some comprehending to the issues. Now, for me personally, I want to see what this reform hopes to bring about. The Nigerian government has been taxing poverty since forever. I think poor people pay more for goods. And worse, the economy isn't strengthened so as to say, well, if you are paying more, well, that's probably a shock you can absorb because you are earning stably, or you are earning well, or at least there's a guarantee of an income that doesn't depreciate with the fall of the wind. And this particular tax reform, according to the proposal by Taiwo Oyewole, he says the philosophy is to make it modern, simple, and adaptive, to chase for growth, enabling, and for making it competitive. The philosophy also seeks that there should be no taxing on investment, on capital, on production, on poverty, or on seeds. This would be great if it goes through. No taxing of investment, on capital, on production, no taxing of poverty. Poor people, if you knew how much you shoulder off of tax, you would be in the streets. But yeah, you don't know. So there's peace everywhere, including the Middle East. Guiding principles, according to this particular work by the committee, it's for national interest, it's data-driven, the outcome-driven, and impact-assessed, harmonized and simplified, optimal and sustainable revenue, facilitating inclusive growth, and they're chasing for equity and fairness. So just before I go to the telephone lines, if you're on the telephone lines, I'll ask for just a few more minutes so that we can get to the chest of his report and then open up the telephone line so you can speak on this. And hopefully by Wednesday, our guest will be here in person. My name's Joyce with Nigeria Info, and you're on the sunny side. And so Taiwo Oyedele continues his presentation before the Nigerian Senate floor. And here is a continuation of the presentation.
We also conducted requests for submission and surveys, and I'm pleased to inform the Senate that we received submission from all the 36 states in Nigeria. There was no single state that was left out. So we are grateful for the trust that the Nigerian people have in the work of the committee. Some of the findings driving our recommendations today, distinguished senators, is that our budget is very low. It's not enough to fund our development. For the year 2024 that is coming to an end, the total of the budget of the federal government, including the amendment to the Appropriation Act, and all the 36 states of the Federation, comes to about 51.1 trillion naira only. If we convert this to the United States dollars, it is just barely $32 billion. These amounts is the size of the budget of Kenya that has only 54 million people, a lot of poverty in the land as well. This amount is less than 1/4 of the budget of South Africa. 130 billion is their budget, and they have about 60 million people. Even by African standard, we are not doing well. On the next slide, as much as the budget is very low, our revenue is even lower. The entire revenue that we generated from taxes is barely 18 trillion naira in 2023. This amount is not even up to fund half of the budget across the Federation. And if you look at individual tax contributions from personal income tax, for example, in the whole of last year, Nigeria only collected 1.53 trillion naira in personal income tax. In that same year, South Africa collected 50.5 trillion naira equivalent. That is more than 30 times what Nigeria collected. Even Kenya, with 54 million people, collected 5.8 trillion naira, almost 4 times what Nigeria collected. It is instructive to note that in South Africa, you do not pay personal income tax until your income is up to 660,000 naira per month. Below that level, you are totally exempted. In Kenya, you will not be liable to pay personal income tax until you earn more than 282,000 naira per month equivalent. But in Nigeria, you are asked to pay personal income tax once you earn 30,000 naira per month. That's 1,000 naira a day. Nigeria is taxing its poorest people. We are taxing poverty. And it's not showing our tax collection because in our analysis, we could not find any country in the world where they place so much burden on their poorest and most vulnerable population. That's not where our revenue will come from. The 50 trillion naira equivalent that South Africa collected from personal income tax alone, which by the way is more than twice all our revenues combined from taxes as well as from proceeds from oil. These 50 trillion naira that collected, 90% of it came from the top 5% of their population. So we believe that the time is right for us to provide exemption for our poorest citizens. Given that they live in multidimensional poverty, they have no ability to pay taxes. And to ask some of us who are not so poor to pay a little bit more so that we can reduce the size of budget deficits and not have any need to print money to spend to fund the government. In every country that they have decided to print money to spend, the outcome is predictable. In Zimbabwe, a few years back, there was a 100 trillion Zimbabwe dollar, and I used to have the note, but I didn't bring it here. That note of 100 trillion was barely enough to buy a loaf of bread because they kept printing money. When government cannot raise revenue rightly and they print money to spend, it is effectively taxation without legislation because the value of the money in everybody's pocket reduces proportionately. Unfortunately, this way of imposing taxes without legislation further impose more burden on the lower end of the ladder. And these will promote inequality and further fuel insecurity because of the social tension, hopelessness, and not caring for our people enough. The question we ask ourselves is that if we do not do these reforms now, then when should we do it? If it's not us, then who should do these reforms? On the next slide, we conducted a national study trying to find out from the Nigerian people their perception towards paying taxes, because you know that tax is at the heart of the social contract, is the reason why societies can exist. It turns out that only 17%, 1/7 of Nigerian adults believe that they should pay their taxes and that tax evasion is wrong and punishable. 83% of Nigerian adults will do anything but pay their taxes. This is the lowest that we have seen of any country where this study has been conducted. When we asked them why, is it that they don't want to pay taxes? They gave us 3 very important reasons. The first one is that they said they do not trust government. Number 2 is they said, even the ones we pay, what are we getting in return for those taxes we pay? Number 3 is they said, even when they want to pay the taxes, the process are complex and corrupt. 2 in 3 adults said they were asked to pay a bribe in the process of wanting to pay their taxes. When we asked them what government should prioritize in terms of spending, they said government should prioritize spending on education, number 1, health, number 2, electricity, number 3, security, number 4. Distinguished senators, this request from the Nigerian people is very consistent with the reason why they live in multidimensional poverty. So the voice is clear from our people about what we must do. Many of the laws that we have in Nigeria today around taxation, we inherited from our colonial masters. For example, the stamp duty law is a law of 1939. In 1939, the world had not envisaged that there would be the internet. Trying to apply a law of 1939 in 2024 does not show that we are people that are ready for the next generation. Because of this, we decided that instead of amending our old laws that we inherited from the colonial masters, why don't we write new ones for ourselves? And this has been done in many countries across the world. This is what led to us trying to harmonize so many taxes that we have in Nigeria into few high revenue yielding, broad-based taxes, and eliminate those taxes that impose burden on our poorest people and small businesses so they can have the opportunity to thrive. It is when our people are prosperous that you have the ability to pay taxes. Our finding is that the fiscal system we have today inhibits growth. And in my private sector experience before my current role, I was involved for over a decade in looking at tax system in more than 180 countries worldwide. And I can tell you with all sense of responsibility, Nigeria's tax system is one of the most backward in the world. This cannot help us with our ambition of a great country, which is what we desire and truly deserve. We also find that government can do much better in terms of the priority and quality of spending, as well as how we borrow, in addition to issues around harmonization of taxes. On the next slide, I do apologize, you will not be able to read the contents, but it's intentional. We decided to put all the official levies and taxes collectible in Nigeria today, column 1 by the federal government, the one in the middle by the states, the one to the right by the local government, altogether more than 60 taxes and levies that we impose on our people today, yet we have no revenue to show for it. Whereas countries where they collect multiples of what we collect, they collect all those taxes from less than 10 taxes. So we believe that if we continue to do the same thing and expect a different result, the result will not be different. We believe it is time for us to take a step back and say, what taxes should we be collecting today? If you go into the Constitution, you find collection of taxes on wheelbarrow, taxes on bicycle, produce, TV, and radio. In the days when those laws were written, having a television is an indication of wealth. Today is not. And we believe it's time for us to do the reforms. So this leads me now to the 4 major bills before you, and I'll give the highlights of those bills one by one. First and foremost, there's a structure that we use to develop the bills. We focus on some principles to guide our recommendations. Those principles include simplicity, harmonization, alignment with our economic objective. We cannot want to grow manufacturing and then we are taxing investment in manufacturing. It's inconsistent. We thought it's important for us to make sure that our tax and fiscal policies are consistent with our growth and development aspirations. Tax neutrality, so that tax does not become a headache for those who are doing business. Competitiveness, can we attract investment to Africa, just within Africa? What we are beginning to see from our analysis, Nigeria's income tax rate for companies ranks in the top 10 in the world. Highest tax rate in the world, Nigeria is in the top 10. Now, if anybody wants to start a business in Africa today under the African Continental Free Trade Area or under the ECOWAS Treaty, the analysis will conclude that Nigeria is the least preferred location for you to set up your investments. If we don't address this issue urgently, the crisis we have will get worse. Because what will happen is even Nigerian companies will decide to go and set up in Ghana and bring the produce to come and sell in Nigeria, since they have a more favorable environment. For example, Nigerian businesses are forced to pay tax even when they have made losses. When you force a company to pay tax when they have made losses, you're asking them to pay tax out of their capital. It's the fastest way to kill any company in the world. One of the reasons why America is one of the greatest countries in the world today is they support their businesses. Even when a business has made a loss, America allows you in some states to go and sell the loss and collect money so you can continue to fund your business. Some of the largest tech companies in the world made losses for more than 10 years before they began to make profits. We want to do the same thing in Nigeria. Today, if you want to set up a factory and you buy equipment and assets, you pay VAT on those assets. you will not be able to get credit for those VAT you have paid. If you go to Ghana, even though their VAT rate is higher, every amount you pay on VAT, you will get it back from the government. We want to do the same thing in Nigeria. We do not want to tax capital anymore. We do not want to tax investments. We do not want to tax poverty. Of course, we do not want to tax seed. We will wait and tax the fruits when people have invested and they are making prosperity. We also want to modernize our system because we are beginning to lose our tax base to other countries. Within the international community, there's a project going on that we call base erosion and profit shifting. And if we don't respond quickly, as other countries are taking care of themselves, we'll be losing our tax base to those other countries. So this is why this is very urgent, among so many other reasons. The work we have proposed before the National Assembly is data-driven. We ensure that we focus on data and we prioritize what is good for our country in the national interest over and above everything else. It is our belief that if Nigeria works, every group, every segment, every association will find a space under a Nigeria that is working. So we have 4 bills. The first one is the Nigeria Tax Bill. The Nigeria Tax Bill brings all the major taxes in Nigeria together in one piece of legislation once it's enacted. It will cover things like companies' income tax, personal income tax, capital gains tax, value-added tax, excise duties tax, stamp duties. The idea is, why do we have to repeat things in different laws? And it's difficult for the taxpayer to find out what they should pay. It's already hard to pay taxes. It should not be harder trying to find out the taxes you need to pay. Our belief is bringing these taxes together in one piece of legislation, write it in simple language that people can understand, will help us significantly. The second bill, before I go into some of the provisions in the bills.
All right, so I was just also going to, pause the video a little bit and open the telephone lines to communication. I think if there's anything you have to be listening to for sure, it would be Nigeria Info on one hand. And then you need to truly get a comprehending of this tax reform bill. And the reason for that is to comprehend where we are as a nation and the potential of where we can be. If you live or do business outside of Nigeria, I think you're driven to the edge, and not just frustration, probably you're driven to madness just thinking about surviving in Nigeria or doing business in Nigeria. A very good example would be this one. Updated. Fintechs charge 50 naira levy, transfer levy on transaction above 10,000 naira. So if you're going to have a transaction over 10,000, 20,000, the government is going to... So this is one of the questions I asked the guest. So hold on. Let me just quickly read the news in your hearing. Financial technology companies have started charging levies, and remember, they push it to the consumer. They charge levies on electronic transfers into personal and business accounts in compliance with the Federal Inland Revenue Service regulation. In a notice to its customers on Saturday, OPay and one of the fintechs stated, and quote, "Dear valued customer, please be informed that starting September 9th, 2024, a one-time fee of 50 naira will be applied for electronic transfer of 10,000 naira and above paid into your personal account or a business account in compliance with the Federal Inland Revenue Services regulation." The company clarified the charges are a government requirement and not a source of revenue for the payment platform. It is important to note that OPay does not benefit from these charges in any way, as it's directed entirely by the federal government, end quote. So it gives you a vague idea as to how much... No, that's not even the picture I wanted to paint. So you get 20,000, the government takes 50 naira, and you take 19,000, what? 19,950 naira to an inflated market. Let me give you an example. I used to buy dates, a paint bucket of dates for 2005, about early last year, something like that. 2,500 a paint bucket. And so the last few months I've been paying 6,000 a paint bucket. So usually I'll buy like two paint buckets of dates, 2 paint buckets of tiger nuts. And so 2, 4, 6, 8. So with 10,000 naira, I can get 4 paint buckets, dates, and tiger nuts, 2 buckets each. Yesterday I sent someone to go get me, and I'm paying, I think 24 or 26,000, something like that, on tiger nuts and dates. Because now I hear it's about 6,000 or 7,000 a bucket. I can't quite remember the figure he gave to me. I think it's about 6,000. He said, or yeah, about 6,000 a bucket. So you want 2 buckets? That's 12,000. I asked for sesame seeds last night. I'm told a kg of sesame seeds is 10,000 naira. And so practically now you want to buy food and all your money. So you take that money that's left and you go into the market. You go into an inflated market. And for every time you're spending that money, you're paying twice as much, and you're paying a seller. And the seller has to make a transfer somewhere to some account. And do they pay another 50 naira? So the complexity of the tax system has further impoverished the poor person. So you go to the market and you buy. And so the trader today is going to make a transfer of cash into his account, or maybe a customer is paying money into his account. And if it's more than 20 into his OPay account, if it's more than 20,000, if it's more than 10,000, he's paying a 50 naira on it. And well, we hear one-off. I honestly thought it was like yearly. Yeah, you pay 50 naira once a year. It probably wouldn't bite half as much. Okay. And that's just a vague example. And then you look at VAT. Yes, sincerely, I want to apologize. That's not all the audio, so we can continue tomorrow, because now we can open up the telephone lines and I want to get your reaction. It's a detailed breakdown of at least what the committee is interpreting the new tax system as. And when we have our guest on Wednesday, all your questions, at least I'll attempt to give answers to them. In the meantime, 0201-2770-993, 0201-465-7190, and 08095975805. The tax system that is not to your advantage, and how that tax system... I think this administration shocked me with the very idea of increasing VAT. It's just the further taxing of poverty. Well, at least I feel the rich can afford it. Can the poor afford it with inflation? Nigeria Info. Let's talk. It's so good to have you here.
Hello, Joyce.
Thank you very much for calling.
Good afternoon. How was your weekend, though?
Good, thank you. Welcome. Tell us your name. Go ahead. Good to have you.
Joyce, when I see this, when they send this thing for me, that you are just explaining, so
okay,
all my mind go to is these people is evil. They really want to rob Nigerians.
Oh.
That is how I see it.
No.
There is no help. They want to help the common people.
No.
You say what?
No. Are you speaking of this Taiwo Oyedele's presentation?
Yes, that's what I'm telling you now. By the time I pay those money, anybody that is buying goods from me, I will collect it from them now.
Oh, well,
is it not so?
That's a different one. No, that's a different one. That's a different gist.
This 50 naira you are talking about now.
Oh, yeah, fintech.
By the time I do transfer, they withdraw it from my money. Who is he going to go to? Is it not the people that is buying goods from me?
Yeah.
So this is evil. Why Nigeria continue to sleep like this? For these people to continue to do all these things? What kind of a country? What kind of a people that is sleeping like this? For this set of people to just to rob us? It's too much.
Yeah, so Taiwo Oyedele is trying to come up with a better tax system.
Please let me come up with something. Okay. What are they doing? The school they go, is it to rob people? To judge the government to allow you to do all those things. It's not fair to Nigeria.
Okay.
If they keep quiet, they will suffer for it, because those money, as they are collecting it from me, I will collect it from people that are selling goods for. That is it. Let them keep quiet and continue to sleep. It's too much. Thank you.
Okay, so it's necessary to separate this whole government begins deduction of 50 naira electronic levy on fintechs. It's different from the presentation by Taiwo Oyele. He's trying to create a case for a better tax system that doesn't tax the poor. Now, the reason I referenced this 50 naira on electronic transfer is just to underscore how the Nigerian government taxes the poor. So you make a transfer more than 10,000 naira and they take 50 naira. Yeah, it's almost like a lack of creativity, a form of impotence in governments, a lack of ideas. So with the lack of ideas, well, let's just create tax systems that just taxes the people. So this administration is trying to say, can we make better the tax system? Who should benefit? Like a wealth distribution of a sort. Yeah, all right, Nigeria Info. Hello, how are you?
Yeah, good afternoon, President.
Thank you very much for calling.
Jonathan is my name.
Good to have you.
Now, you will see the voice of Madam, the market woman. Yesterday, I was in the garden and I started receiving that message of 50 naira. And this 50 naira is going to be collected pan-Nigeria. And who is collecting it? FIRS. The same federal government. The same federal government that removed subsidy. The same federal government that sequence English that they talk about the forex, that is bringing the forex to 2,000 naira today. The same federal government is still collecting 50 naira from Nigerians on the street. Just like Market One said, a business person will transfer the cost and the hardship continues. I think this is the worst leadership that we have ever had in our life.
Yeah, but you know, the leadership is also trying to get a different reform system. And I just played you the audio.
I saw what Taiwo is saying. I listened to everything.
Okay.
You understand? I listened to everything. The point is this, Joyce. There are some levies that you don't need to gather people. There are some, as we speak, Joyce, right now.
Pardon me. Pardon me. I have to be off on a break, all right? We should be back to the conversation on Nigeria.
I'll call back.
More conversation, more talk, more right after this.
5 years of getting young boys and girls off the streets with football at their feet, giving them a platform of expression and education. But we are not done yet. Introducing Cohesion Football Tournament 6.0. Lagos, Nigeria. Get ready for a grassroots football tournament that makes all the difference, as 40 male teams and 4 female teams will battle for a chance to become champions. Date 17th and 18th December 2024. Venue Union Bank Stable, Surulere, Lagos. Media partners Super Sports, Nigeria Info and Kids FM. For sponsorship inquiries and partnership, please call 0808 2665-717. Sponsors Multina, Firewood Jollof, Shredded Egg, Refreshed by Milo. Headline sponsor Viva Detergent. Cohesion Football Tournament. The youth, the stars, the future.
Have you heard the great news? Genesis Cinemas Lekki opens this December ahead of blockbuster releases. Get ready for a very dirty December with great Hollywood hits. Gladiator 2, Moana, Wicked, Craven the Hunter, Mufasa, The Lion King, and the highly anticipated Nollywood hits. The Waiter, AY's new blockbuster Everybody Loves, Jennifer, and lots more. The new Genesis Cinema Lekki features state-of-the-art audio visuals, stunning screens, luxury fittings, and a wide variety of food and drink options. Genesis Cinemas Lekki is located at the new Purple Lekki Mall, along Freedom Way, Lekki Phase 1. Genesis Cinemas, more than movies.
99.3 Nigeria Info, your number one station for talk. Let's talk.
Activate. We are radioactive on 99.3 Nigeria Info. My name is Joyce.
You know, I just remembered that about 2 days ago. No, actually, it wasn't 2 days ago. I just checked my phone now, and I realized that I also was charged 50 naira. Hold on. Yeah, I'm looking through my deductions. And I can see yesterday, 9:04 a.m., I am debited 50 naira, and it's for electronic money transfer, FGN. I remember when I saw it, I was wondering what I had done for this, deduction. So I think I may have transferred to, now I don't even remember. I just remember I saw a 50 naira deduction. Okay, so I may have transferred to maybe one of these tech company banks, this fintechs. So they took it from my account. Oh, okay. Oh, is that what we're doing? And it's interesting because, the country's trying to drive. You remember then the campaign for a cashless system where everybody's advised to go digital? I guess this should be some comprehending of how these laws work. And if you're wondering, electronic money transfer levy is levy right now, 50 naira charge applied to electronic transfers of 10,000 naira and above in Nigeria. Telephone lines, we want to give this moment to someone before the news headlines. Hello, Nigeria Info.
Hello, Joyce. Good afternoon.
Thank you. I have 1 minute with you before commercial break.
Okay, let me start with one.
Okay.
I was just coming to buy fuel, 30 liters, and my shaking me. I spent 8,800 naira. Before Tinubu became a president, I spent 11,000 for my...
This network, I guess, it's not clear. I'm losing you. Hello?
Call back.
Okay,
I'll call back.
Please call back. Now, if you run a company and your account is one of these fintechs, I want to it doesn't appear like too much, but I want to know how you feel about this now new implementation of this 15-hour, deduction. It doesn't look like a lot. It sounds like something you can truly stomach, or can you? But then again, it's the consumers who really have to pay. You just transfer it to the buyer. We'll be right back. You're 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Here on Info, they call us on time.
Because we bring it right on time.
Anybody that wants to start a roof.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.